At the beginning of every month, panel invoices must be created, even for TPAs. The payments can only be tracked if panel invoices are created. Before creating panel invoice, make sure the panel information is correct in the panel page. Make sure these details are correct with proper capitalizations. This is important as these details information will be printed on the panel invoices. For TPAs or any panels that pay by visits, make sure Monitor Submission Status, Individual Payment and Centralized Panel are correctly ticked. Refer to panel page anatomy for more details. The payment terms will also be printed on the invoice. Flow of panels: billing, invoicing and payments. When the panel details are correctly filled, you can start creating panel invoices in the reports page. Specify the period for the invoice. It is recommended to create invoices before the 10th of every subsequent month. For invoices for July, they must be created before 10th of August. Search and select the panel here. Or clicking panels will list all panels. Clicking the panel here will select the panel. Here the panel has been selected. Before creating any invoice, confirm the patient listing first. Do not click Create Invoice before verifying the patient's list. To list the patients, click List Patients by panel. These are the patients that will be included in this panel invoice. Note that for TPAs or any panels that require submissions in their portal/terminal, the submissions must be done first. This can be checked by looking for this No Submission flags. These No Submission flags indicate that these visits were not submitted in the panel's portal/terminal. It is important to settle these submissions first before proceeding to create invoice for this panel. Whenever submission to panel portal/terminal is done, the visit has to be marked Submitted in Submission Check. Clicking Submit will mark this visit as submitted in the panel portal/terminal. This submission process shall be done immediately after the patient's visits. Keeping this submission list too long will result in mistakes. Once the submissions are completed, click List Patients by panel to confirm no unsubmitted visits are present. If the No Submission flag is not present in any of the visits, we can proceed to create the panel invoice. Note that if the visit is not submitted to the TPAs, your clinic will never get paid. Click Create Invoice to create the panel invoice. Note that every invoice has its own unique serial number that will be generated every time invoice is created. Avoid creating and deleting invoices unnecessarily as this will add complexity to accounts. Each visit, VN, with panel charges can only belong to one invoice. If a visit has been invoiced under a panel, the visit will not be included again if another invoice is created for the same period. And if the visits have zero charges to the panel, the visits will not be included in the panel invoices even though the visits are tagged to the panels. Click Create Invoice to create the panel invoice. These are the visits included in this invoice. One visit can only be included in one invoice. If any of these visits needs to be removed from this invoice, tick this box. And click Remove Selected to remove the ticked visits from this invoice. Any further editing of this invoice cannot be done here. To edit created invoices, the invoice needs to be opened via View Invoices/Debit Notes. To open invoices via View Invoices/Debit Notes, make sure the right period and the right panel are selected. Only invoices with invoice date within this selected period will be listed. If no panel is selected, all invoices in this period will be listed. Click View Invoices/Debit Notes. All the invoices with invoice date within the selected period will be listed. If a panel has been selected before clicking View Invoices/Debit Notes, only that panel's invoices will be listed, otherwise all panels' invoices will be listed. Click View for the invoice that needs to be edited/viewed. All unposted invoices will have the watermark draft and are not meant to be sent to the panels. All extended panels invoices will have the watermark draft, EXT, even after posting. This is because the actual invoicing is done by the central clinic, therefore the invoices generated by other clinics/branches are for internal use only. If needed, invoice title can be added by clicking here. Type in the title here. Click Add/Edit to save the title. The title is now displayed in the invoice. If needed, the invoice date can be edited by clicking Invoice Date. Change the invoice date here and click Edit to save the invoice date. If needed, the invoice due date can be edited by clicking Due Date. Change the invoice due date here and click Edit to save the invoice due date. If any of these visits needs to be removed from this invoice, tick on the checkbox here. Click Remove Selected to remove the selected visits from this invoice. Click and will tick all visits. If needed, invoice remarks can be added by clicking here. Type in the remarks under Invoice Notes and click Add/Edit to save the remarks. The invoice remarks will be shown here. The bank details is saved in Add/Edit. Clinic details will be shown here by default. The bank and details can be changed here if needed. The selected bank details will be listed here if any. Clicking the date/time of the visit will open up the details box. This is the details box for the selected visit. The clinical notes, diagnosis, vital signs, investigations, procedures, injections and medicines will be listed here for the visit, VN. The following remarks/legends can be included in the panel invoice. For example, if the panel requires procedures and injections to be stated in the invoice, tick them here. And click Save to include the remarks/legends into the invoice. The saved remarks/legends will be indicated here. In this example, 1 and 2 refers to 1 procedure/surgery and 2 injections. Charges in red indicate the panel charges are less than the visit's total charges. Click on this charge to see the details. In this visit, RM39 is the total charge for the visit but only RM30 is billed under panel. Checking this info can prevent undercharging the panel and mistakes can be corrected in the collection page. The print function here is for printing for internal use and not to print final invoice. To print final invoice, PDF must be used and the PDF icon will only appear here once the invoice is posted. Once the invoice's information has been verified, click Post to post the invoice. When invoices have been posted, it tells the system that the invoices have been sent to the panels and as such no editing/deleting will be allowed. Click View to view the posted invoice. Posted invoices will not have the draft watermark, except for extended panels invoices. To print the proper invoice, click PDF. Note that this PDF icon will only appear on posted invoices. The invoice's title, date, due date and remarks cannot be edited once posted. Clicking this will provide more invoice format options. These are the other invoice formats. Click on the format to view the invoice. This is one example of another invoice format for the same invoice. This is the total of all the invoices listed here. The figure outside of the brackets is the amount after credit/debit notes been applied. The figure inside the brackets is the amount before credit/debit notes are applied. It is important to ensure all panel visits are invoiced, otherwise the clinic will never get paid or will not be able to track the payments. The missed visits usually happens when visits are edited after panel invoices have been created. To make sure no visits are missed from being invoiced, any missed visits will be shown here under Uninvoiced. This is the total of the uninvoiced, missed, visits. In other words, This is the amount that the panel does not know existed, as these visits are not in any invoices. Click View to list the missed visits. The uninvoiced, missed, visits will be listed here. The total of the uninvoiced visits will also be shown at the bottom. The uninvoiced, missed, visits can also be listed by clicking View All Uninvoiced here. To invoice these missed visits, if the invoice has not been posted yet, the existing invoice can be deleted and recreated. When invoice is recreated, all visits tagged to the panel will be included. If the invoice has been posted, it cannot be deleted. In this case, you can create another /supplementary invoice for the same period so that the missed visits will be included in a separate invoice. So before posting any invoice, make sure all visits are properly tagged to the panel and no uninvoiced visits are present. The total of the uninvoiced/missed visits will also be indicated in the sales report. Click Sales to see the sales report for the selected month. This uninvoiced amount must be 0 if panel invoices for that month have been created. If it is not 0, it means there are some visits that are not included in any panel invoices and the clinic will never get paid for these visits. Panel Summary will list all the invoices in graphical format. One box represents one invoice. This is the invoice number. This is the invoice amount. This is the total payment received for this invoice from the panel. The boxes in gray indicate that the due dates are past, depending on the credit terms. Clicking P will open the payment box where you can record payment for this invoice. If payment has been received from the panel, enter the payment details here and click Enter to save. Note that for panels with individual payment configured, panels that pay according to visits, payments cannot be saved here. Clicking M will open up the follow-up memo box. Enter any payment follow-up notes under Memo and click Enter to save. The payment follow-up notes will be listed in chronological order here. For panels with individual payment configured, panels that pay according to visits, the payments must be recorded under Enter Payment here, where the payments can be mapped to the exact visits paid for. That's it. You're done.